But let's look at the underlining local content. Given that many foreign AI systems are trained on data that does not practically reflect African cultures or reality, how can we encourage the development of AI solutions to develop more within the African context? And of course, what specific steps can be taken to ensure that AI models are aligned with local values and needs in Africa?
Intelligent question. I really appreciate a lot. Let me say that the technology of the 21st century that will help a lot in poverty, diseases, violence, poor leadership, and to achieve the 17 HDG. So important in all sectors, in healthcare, in aviation, in industries. That's why in Africa we have to concentrate about this new technology. For example, artificial intelligence and the helping, technology for the artificial intelligence like IoT, cloud computing, blockchain, that will help a lot. Let me say that I start working with this new technology since 2013 as nominated to talk about this new technology in aviation, conference in Egypt. Let me say for Africa, we have to change the concept from passive consumer to active user. That's why, we have, all leaders for Africa, they make a union opinion that we must have our artificial intelligence like ChatGPT or something like that, and we are the one who make input for this artificial intelligence system. That's why it will, compromise with our, culture, our values, our science. That's why we have to all unite to do something good for Africa to make our artificial intelligence system for us. Let me say that this new technology will change the concept from love things and use people to love people and use things. That's why you have to concentrate with the scientists, leaders, investors in Africa to put our hands together to make our new artificial intelligence system.
Okay.
Thank you so much for your question.
All right. Now I'm still going to stay with you before I come to the studio here. There's the conversation surrounding not having enough data and, of course, not being included when it comes to data collection in Africa, which speaks to digital sovereignty and, of course, collaboration. From your perspective, do you think that as it stands, there can be stronger collaboration that should promote a sense of digital sovereignty within the African space, not just using data that is not Africa for Africans when it comes to AI generation?
As I told you, we have like scientists in Africa, work in Africa or in USA or in other country. We have investors, from Africa, work in Africa or another country. We have, good mind in Africa. We have to use all the resources, from Africa. We can use this resource. We can, ask this expert or ask this scientist or ask this leaders in artificial intelligence or this new technology to come in Africa or to stay, abroad and help Africa through, like hybrid model can work, inside or can work online or something like that. So let's collaborate to do something, for Africa, because we have the experts that USA, bring, like expert in AI from Africa. We have investors, we have leaders, we have, good mind, Let me give you, my story that I start working in this new technology 2013 after nominated to speak about this new technology in a big conference for development of aviation. And after that, I do it by myself, by my financed by by my hard work without any help. I can now write a book about this new technology, write articles,
Right.
go to conference and also want to speak about this new technology. And I hope that I can transfer my expert in this new technology to my country, our countries, Africa, and also world. So
Okay.
let's do something for Africa. That's my point.
All right, then. Let me come to the studio. Barrister, a conversation that is surrounding data collection is what we're talking about here. Interestingly, AI models and technology has come to stay. But the conversation around having models that has data that are not representing Africa by, of course, the people who are having these models, technically, there is the bias. Addressing this bias and inequality, how can we mitigate this, even as a people? Plus, the fact that technology has come to stay, and you will discover that in some of our hospitals across Africa, let's even use Nigeria as a case study, technologically, we're not even getting it right in some of our hospitals. How can we mitigate this together and do better from here on?
That is why African leaders should be very careful. It's not enough to embrace the new technology. We don't want something that will harm us in the name of joining the modern world. This AI, there is more to it. We are not ready for it. So I expect African and African leaders to even go and understudy what we are talking about. That was what China did. If you check, China don't copy Western technology wholesale. They modify it to suit them. That's why that country is making progress. Go and check. Even they have their own internet, they have everything. This social media, they have their own. It's on record. So African leaders should take a cue from China. Don't copy willy-nilly whatever the Western world is giving you. It does not help.
In other words, they should be able to do much more in terms of carrying out their own research with their young people.
Exactly. Where are our scientists? Most of the problems bedeviling us are not Western problem. They are not Western problem. That is why this problem are still with us, because we look up to the Western world for our medical needs. Look at China. Imagine if China were to depend on the Western world for their medical care. How many? We are talking of a country of over 1.something billion, 1.4. How many drugs are they going to import? That was why they developed acupuncture. We can take care of all their health needs. Imagine, somebody sat down and developed that thing. Somebody sat down. And today, most modern medical doctors, they have combined acupuncture in their medical care. After reading the orthodox medicine, they still go to China to study this because of the efficacy. Why do you think China is multiplying? Why do you think they are growing?
Now, Barrister, you mentioned the scientists, and one thing that comes to mind is there enough funding for researches for the scientists in Africa to carry out even much more development than what we have presently in Africa? The
money that is going into looting and corruption can take care of this thing, David. It can take care of this thing 110%. All African leaders is to stop and curb corruption. Those money they are using to answer strong men in Africa, they can use it and channel it into these research institutions, knowing fully well that at the end of the day it pays off. It will save us a lot of problem. All the health need that you are going abroad to go and seek for. Imagine if African scientists were given the mandate by their leaders to go and find out what is wrong with this thing. Why are we having this problem? Things like malaria, all those things that are African oriented. Go and look for a solution. But because you are looking up to the Western, do you think they want to free you from their medical bondage? No. No, they don't want you to be free. That's why you always depend on them. So these are things that people should realize, because the world is moving on. We are not going backwards again. Right. It's not possible. So before you introduce AI in everything we do, please study it properly, whether it suits our environment. It's very important.
Interesting. Well, let's go back to Egypt right now. Dr. Mwasa, again, the conversation about engagement with the community and, of course, the people is quite enormous. But from your perspective, as a UN spokesperson on SDG 30, do you think there is enough engagement on the path of African leaders with her people and even the scientists who are supposed to carefully know how much it would take to carry out these researches and, of course, the technology that we use in Africa these days?
Thank you so much for your questions. I really appreciate a lot. You are right. We need, more engagement for people, in Africa. In a leader, we need representatives from every society to participate, in this biggest transition, in technology in all the world. Let me say, for example, there will be a replacement of job, from 5 years and 10 years, 15 years, for repetitive job, for routine job, for optimized job. But for complex job or creative job, there is no replacement. That's why, we need to let people, participate, take their decision, and seriously, the leaders should, negotiate with people and know what's the concern, of people, because, in a change management, if you want to change the technology to the newest technology, maybe people against this technology because they know that they will, replace their job. They are, afraid or scared that someone takes their job. That's why they are going to fight new technology. For my opinion, we need, this new technology to help people, not to replace people. We need this new technology to help people, in all sectors, not to replace people. That's why we need to let people participate in this biggest transition in technology in all the world. So we have AI could replace and serve us, you for repetitive job, for routine job, for standard jobs, and we have AI could be your tool of assistance in for managers, for scientists, for artists. That's why we have to study this step very carefully, so that we can get better for the AI and get better from people at the same time. Thank you for your question.
All right, then. Again, let me come back to the studio. Interestingly, Barrister, doctor in Egypt just, of course, admitted to the fact that truly we need to study some of these technology and not just jump at it, because if we do not have the models and data that are African for Africans, we might just be having some issue. But then we're still going to stay in the space of social media. Interestingly, there's been some conversations about what some would call gagging of the media, and that is about the situation that happened in Cote d'Ivoire, where a particular nurse has been sentenced to prison for a Facebook page, post that she made against the president, Alcantara. From your perspective, Alison Alcantara has been a bit, let me use the word, outspoken about the way social media is being used, even across Africa and, of course, the young people. But the fact that this young lady has been sentenced to 3 years in prison for making social media comments deemed offensive towards the president, what's your general overview of this? And looking forward, is there the possibility that there can be some sanity when people go ahead posting things, knowing for a fact that yes, there is freedom of speech, but freedom after speech is not usually guaranteed, because some people don't know the law when you defame people, particularly people of political status?
David, the UN is very particular about this issue. That is why it is embedded in the charter, and every other country has domesticated it. Your fundamental right, because it is a dangerous thing for you to guard people. you now mortgage their freedom of expression, freedom of movement, freedom of association. In our own climb here, if you go to our constitution, section 33 to section 42, all these rights are there. Now, imagine if you have a government you cannot criticize or even advise, that would be a zombie territory. Seriously, because everybody serving the government will not tell the government the truth. Most times, the government will hear the truth from outside. The human rights activists and all that. That is where they even get feelers. So why would you now, shut down that aspect of the society that is very critical to your government? Very critical. Most government may not understand what is going on unless human rights activists, maybe lawyers and all that, to challenge them in court and say no, this is not right. Then they will back down. But those who serving the government may not have the guts to tell the government the truth. So this area is very, very important in the administration of a country. So any leader that is against it, that means that leader is failing already.
But Barrister, the prosecutor's office did say that the charges are part of a broader crackdown on online misconduct, which, of course, the officials have said that has become increasingly common in the system.
What is I don't understand. What exactly is against government here? That you are telling the president that you are not doing well. This is what I find wrong in your actions. Is that an insult or what? I don't get it. Most times they don't even know the difference between right and wrong. It is the government that is abusing their own responsibility.
But then, Barrister, in the path of defamation, how do we juxtapose the two?
There is nothing wrong in defamation. It's a civil matter. Go to court. If the president or whoever feels that somebody has defamed him or her, go to court. Then the court will interpret it and know whether actually there is defamation charge here. Not you taking laws into your hand because you have been defamed. Okay, the government that have been defaming people, who takes them to court? Who takes the government to court? So when there is such an infraction, is a simple matter. I'm sure every country has that defamation clause in their laws. So that whenever there is such an infraction, you challenge it in court. You challenge it.
But looking at the fact that, Barrister, this is becoming one too many around Africa. You would recall in Kenya, the young blogger, I'm talking about Alberto Juang, who was killed in custody. This same kind of conversation was the reason why he was picked up. He was right. He did wrote something as against the Deputy Inspector General of Police in that country. Now we're talking about Cote d'Ivoire right now. Their election is in October, Barrister. There are conversations around the fact that the clampdown on the opposition big figures, particularly the young ones, is one that is set to continue in order to silence opposition, according to some quarters. Is there the possibility that this is what the presidency is doing? Or is truly the social media influence giving the government another international name that they don't want?
Look, you see, this is the more reason why this thing should be challenged in court. This is the human rights community in that country should rise up. They should come to the aid of that nurse to know whether actually this thing is worth it or is it because of election. It's very sad. Look, every other country, both the Western world and Africa, there is always this infraction against leaders and all that. Remember Donald Trump? There was this media house that he had to take to court and they paid him, I think, $5 million or so for, defamation. He went to court and challenged them, and the court, yes, gave him victory. So it happens. What we are saying is that it is not an opportunity for you to abuse your power because you feel you are in authority, you are in power, therefore nobody should talk to you. No. Go to court like every other person and then challenge this thing. The court, you will even get victory that is honorable than using your power. It means that ab initio, there was no issue, no case in what you are pursuing. You just want to use your power to put the person in silence. That is not how these things work, because one day you will get out of that office. You get out of that. So what happened? We should begin to build institutions, please. That's what we are saying in Africa. Let's build institutions. Not to you becoming a strong man that nobody can talk to. Nobody can criticize. You are building a zombie territory.
Again, Barrister, this conversation about opposition and, of course, the ruling government is one too many around Africa. I'll take this other story in Mozambique, where Public Prosecutor's Office has charged opposition politician Venancio Mondlane with 5 crimes linked to the post-election violence that rocked the country in 2024. You would recall that the Daniel Chapo was the one that won the last election. But looking at the fact that this particular conversation is still ongoing, you would recall that this election did happen sometime in October last year, and of course the opposition leader Mondlane did say publicly that his supporters as well should take to the streets to reject the result, which again, according to the government in power, cost the life of over 400 persons in Mozambique. Is there the possibility that the ruling government at the time is not speaking to the heart of the matter, which is election malpractice that Mondlane was identifying, but is talking to the fact that they want to just hang the loss of life to the statement made by Mondlane in Mozambique?
Now, protest is guaranteed, is your right.
After election?
Before or after.
Okay.
You can protest against the injustices of government against you as a person, as a citizen. You can protest. Now, what happens after the protest is a different kettle of fish. What if government instigated that protest, or those people that died, and they are now hanging it on the head of the opposition? Because we have seen it here. When you want to protest, they mobilize their talks against you. And maybe in the process, somebody may die. And they say, yes, it's because you are protesting. So, if the protest is organized, well structured, and maybe along the line, the government now infiltrated the protest to cause mayhem, how can that be the problem of the opposition? The opposition cannot set up to start causing a problem here and there. The only venting their displeasure over what you have done as a government. And I expect you to even mobilize police to guide them in their protests. Yes, that's what you're supposed to do. To guide the protest so that it will not turn violence. But when you, the government, is now the chief culprit here, why would you blame the opposition? Because we all know how these things work out. Why would you blame the opposition?
But Barrister, the charges include incitement to collective disobedience and instigation of terrorism. Isn't that something weighty?
That is, yeah, that is. With instigation of terrorism, what does that mean? All the protesters we are carrying gun, Abi? No, tell me. Do you mean all the protesters we are carrying gun? You can see government can instigate this other side of protest and blame it on the opposition. It's something all of us are aware of. We know that's how they operate. When they want to silence you, the moment you protest, they will now infiltrate it and then use it to clamp down on you and say that you want to overthrow the government.
So, Barrister, if this is now the new scheme
in Africa,
how then should opposition lend their voice?
They don't want you to talk. David, is a new development in our political dispensation. They don't want you to protest on what they are doing. They want you to remain silent and quiet. That is why when people are blaming some of them in Nigeria here, you don't know what they are going through. The moment you do such a thing now, they will even use their own people to kill people in your midst and say, yes, you have caused mayhem. People died because you are protesting. Therefore, you should be charged to court for murder. And you know how heavy that is. So, these are the issues. And I tell you, it is not helping Africa as a continent. It's not helping our democracy. In fact, These people will continue to do this until all of us we choose the way of Burkina Faso, Niger, and Mali. I'm not joking. Yes, because there's no more democracy.
What unfortunate, Barrister.
Yeah, they are looking toward that direction now. That's it. They are looking toward that direction. Because if you are a civilian government and you are acting as a military, what's the difference? Is it not better we choose the military?
Anyways, this is where we have to draw curtain because of time, and we definitely want to say a big thank you to Barrister Darlington Agumo for joining us. Barrister is Voice of the People TV's in-house political affairs analyst, and of course a legal practitioner right here in Nigeria. And we also had joining us virtually Dr. Moasa Assem, who of course, like I told you earlier, is a global chair, IGC Business Community, also a high-level speaker with the United Nations for WSIS 2015, and also a member of United Nations High Meeting for SDG 2030. I want to say thank you again, gentlemen, for joining us.
It's my pleasure.